I had never heard of actual sea bees before, and someone made that. I talked about how they could be these bees down there, and they're like, oh, like sea bees, and I was like, what are sea bees?
Yeah, they were a Navy thing. Yeah.
And wait, does that come from the letter CB, like?
I don't know.
Or construction brigade or something.
Yeah, good. Like Jeep comes from general
Yeah.
personnel vehicle. Yeah.
So, and this bee is called Terry because of the character from On the Waterfront, Marlon Brando's character named Terry. Mm-hmm. So that's where we got all that stuff.
That's Raphael Sparge, who he was actually the main character in Knights of the Old Republic in the original game. But Raphael was a big on-camera guy and hadn't really done a lot of voiceover. And there's a scene later on where he's addressing all of the workers. And the thing about Raphael was that he physically performs when he's in the studio.
Oh, right.
So as he was addressing the field, he kept on going off mic, and so the engineer's like, oh, we got to keep him on mic. And so I said, I said, hey, Raphael, can you stay on mic? He's like, oh, really sorry. We re-rolled, and all of a sudden his energy just went
Oh, interesting.
down, and so it just wasn't working the same way. So we pulled out another 2 mics and put him out.
Oh, that's great.
So that he could then go, you are the fat cats of industry, and he could kind of move his head, and we still caught it. And so then we just cut around the 3 tracks to get the final take.
So crazy.
Yeah. But he's a great actor.
I think we're going to come up to Garv's set that I destroyed. That I destroyed 2 weeks of Garv's work by trying to learn how to 3D model, and somehow I ended up erasing 2 weeks of his work. Because it was the fish place that you had to redo.
Oh yeah, the elevator.
Yeah, the elevator and that place with the fish.
I remember at the time it was a big debate, like, should we require P100 or P133, like penny 100, penny 133? It's like, nope, your target platform is whatever was on sale at CompUSA for $500 last year.
It's like a P70.
Yeah, it's like, P60 I think is what we ended up with as the minimum spec. We ended up going for P90 at the end, but it was one of the things where it's like those kind of constraints where it's like you really could pull it off with all the kinds of machines we had in the company, but the average consumer who we wanted to sell the game to did not have a machine like that. So that's one of the vagaries of the PC market that still persists,
Yeah, and you wouldn't, when you think about Grimm, you wouldn't necessarily think, but there's like all hand-coded assembly rasterizers in here. There's hand-coded assembly blitters in here. Lots of like layout asset management. This was a tricky game to optimize and to get running acceptably on the kind of machines that people were going to be running it on. But it doesn't come off like the same technical challenge as a Jedi Knight or something like that. And it wasn't.
It's different kind of technical challenge. Much more kind of interdisciplinary.
It was really getting all this weird stuff happening at the same time.
Oh, Membrio. My brother actually makes Membrio, which is a quince jelly that you eat with cheese. Membrio means quince.
Well, sure doesn't sound like it.
Membrio.
Oh, Membrio, that's different.
Yeah. What'd you think I said?
I remember one time showing Pete something. He said, well, I don't like it, but I don't know why. And which is the most helpful criticism that you can ever get, because you don't know how to fix the thing. But I'm being facetious.
I don't know why there's so much union jokery in games that I've worked on, but I've always found it, maybe because it was a big part of like movies that air like On the Waterfront, and not so much unions, but mobster corrupt unions.
Right.
There's always a big part of that, going on, and then also like worker, anti-worker, communist themes going on. Like it was all tied together. And I don't know if that all sprung out of On the Waterfront or other movies.
Well, On the Waterfront though was kind of, it was sort of championing the plight of the working man, but it also was talking about the dark side of the union thing for sure.
But it was a corrupt union. It was a mob-run deal.
That's true.
I'm a strong believer in things that should be, when you're making stuff, it should be something that could only been made by you or in that group of people, and at the time you made it in the place you made it.
Yes.
I think Grimm is definitely that case. That's one of the great things about Grimm. I think it's a collection of amazing artists like you and the visual artists and the programmers and the actors, and everything that came together for that game was just such a was almost an overwhelming distraction of amazing artists coming together. Like, oh my God, look at that background. Oh my God, listen to this music. Oh my God, listen to that voice. So I think it makes that game really special. But it also has a lot of personal details that are just kind of woven into it that makes it so, like, even if we were making this game from scratch with the same intentions today, it would just be completely different.
Speaking of database, I mean, that was really how we accomplished so much, right? Is from an organizational standpoint of the music, of the sound effects, and of the voice. And I remember, especially for voice, how critical it was. And what we in the sound department would do is inherit and share the use of the database with the voice department. And you could do a search and isolate all the lines for, say, Manny, or isolate all the lines that needed to have reverb baked into them, or another type of processing. And then you would just divide and conquer and just master everything in groups and bring it all together, have a single reference for volume, and use the database to keep organized and isolate different found sets of different criteria.
Her character's a little bit inspired by, I think it's Big Sleep too, where Bogart is hiding from someone. He needs to hide in a bookstore.
Right.
And he goes in there, and there's a woman in there, and she's really into him.
Chippa Ben-Hur 1863 edition, the one with the errata on page 47 or something.
Wow, that is a memory. Yeah.
Well.
And it's just really, he looks at her, and he's like, she seems like she's really attracted to him, if I remember correctly. And he like takes off her glasses and is like, yeah, okay. Like, it was really kind of messed up scene. But
well, it's that that was the subtext of the noir film.
And then he pulls the shades.
Hanky-panky.
Yeah, the hanky-panky. Yeah, and they lock the door and pull down the shades. And that's a little bit what this scene is all a reference to or inspired by.
Because she's telling him her story.
Mm-hmm. The cats racing. We were always so sad that we never showed the cat races, but that was for budget reasons. Obviously, we didn't want to cut the actual cats, but I wanted to have giant cats running on a track like that.
And the idea of a cat's racing being herdable enough to race is pretty. Why cats?
Why cats? There was a. God, I don't remember. Why cats? That's a good idea.
I mean, I just remember making the music going well at some point. Because you're near the kitty litter.
There's all these background scripts that do things as you enter a room. It's like start all these scripts when you enter the room, like that do all these background actions. Then when you leave the room, it's just to stop all those scripts. And it was all left to chance because left to programmer error. And there was one. So we were talking about this earlier. There's a script that runs the cat races, and it runs the announcer for the cat races, and it actually. True to Tim's attention to detail, he wanted it to actually simulate cat races, and
there
actually
are actual cat races going on.
There are cats that are being raced, and the same name will show up, and you'll hear this cat getting ahead of the other one. I think Chris Purvis did that.
Yeah, and the odds are real. The winnings are real. It is.
Yeah, Manny's wallet fills up, and of course the cat races are running, and so it's in the background. The announcer's running, and it's the simulation of these cat races being run. And they never killed that script. So you play the rest of the game from the cat scene, and the cat race simulator script is always running.
Yes, from the moment the cat races start to the end credits of the game, the cat race simulation is going on in the background.
There are still kitties racing today.
Yes.
How big were those when you drew them? Like the posters and the murals and stuff.
We could actually work rather big.
Did you have Photoshop back then?
We had Photoshop, but I don't know if we had layers back then.
Oh, we had layers.
I think we did. Oh, yeah, we had layers, but maybe
Paul
only...
just didn't know what they were.
No, but I think too, you only had one undo or maybe two undos.
Oh, wow.
It's strange. The characters in this game don't like to go into crowded areas, almost as if it's too hard to render them. Chowchilla Charlie.
Oh, yes.
That name comes from an actual person I know who was from Chowchilla, which no one remembers anymore, but when I was a kid, an entire school bus full of children was kidnapped in the town Chowchilla. Do you remember that?
No.
California.
Wow.
A school bus full of kids was kidnapped, and the people demanded ransom. And it was crazy to think about. It was on the news. It was Chowchilla. Everyone was talking about this kids, and eventually they were found and rescued, and I don't believe they were hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So I can talk about that story now.
Yeah.
And all the kids went home. But and then years later, I just a friend of ours was dating this guy named Charlie. And he was from Chowchilla, and I was like, oh, wow, were you on the bus? He was like, no, I was sick that day. I was sick. I didn't go to school that day, and so I didn't get kidnapped.
Wow.
And we always referred to him as Chowchilla Charlie.
Wow.
And he's now in the game as Chowchilla Charlie, even though his personality is not as sleazy as this character. He's a fine, outstanding, although very lucky guy.
Yeah.
But this is our Peter Lorre character.
Well, I remember, speaking of VO, I remember you casting this, and then I remember you vanishing.
Yeah.
And you were gone for so long recording this.
Yeah, I was down in... Actually, it was the only one time we rented an apartment rather than staying at a hotel, because I was down in LA recording this for 6 weeks, and then I was bookended on either side with 2 weeks for 2 Lucas Learning projects.
Yeah.
And so it was
yeah, you just moved away.
Yeah. It's a long time.
Is that cat actually modeled, or is that a painting?
No, that's a modeled cat.
The lighting is so soft. It's.
Mm-hmm. I think I might have even. Oh, please, did I do that? Did I model that cat? I might have modeled that cat.
It's a cool looking cat. Just the lighting.
Thank you.
He's one sexy cat.
So this is one of the parts of the game where a huge amount was cut out. There was supposed to be a gigantic action sequence like there was in all of, I think we cut a giant action sequence out of every year, but there's a gigantic action sequence where there's an animal called the Dillopede that guarded the bottom of the elevator. It was a giant armadillo, and the Dillopede was there to kind of snap at Manny as he came down. There's this whole sequence where you had to kind of, you had the Dillopede hanging by some elevator cable, and he was snapping at you, and you had to swing on him or something like that. And it's just the idea of a giant vicious armadillo still sticks with me. But it was one of those things where it's like, you look at the context of the game, and it's an adventure game, and the budget's short, and we're already going to be a huge game. What purpose is it serving in the game? So we had to cut a lot of stuff out like that just was really cool and fun to design, but ultimately not critical to the game, and was going to be really expensive.
This is our first 3D game, and it's funny to see how many puzzles are about the physical properties of things, as opposed to in a 2D adventure game, you would never make something based on the shape of something or leverage. Like that whole puzzle was very physical. Like you had to move these 2 objects and stop them from sliding past each other, and the forklift jacked up on its back wheels. And I think we were just so excited to be in a world of physical stuff, or maybe because we were in a world of physical stuff, we had to actually make it physically realistic.
I think this is one of my first sets. Oh, yeah, I remember this is... Both of those were... it was one of the first ones that I ever modeled. And again, it was very simple. Very simple geometry.
Why did Cataglotis leave the piano playing thing and come down here? Oh, you got him the pass. You gave him a pass.
Right.
So
now he's a high roller.
And he's an alcoholic and a gambler because of you.
Right.
But it's all for a good cause, adventure game playing.